Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. B1. Marcus Aurelius. The Stoics, through their profound understanding of human nature, identified qualities that not only define virtuous men, but also possess an undeniable allure. In this video, we'll explore 7 rare traits, deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, that captivate and attract. Stay with us till the end to uncover these transformative qualities. If you find value, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Chapter 1. Ruthless Self-Confidence. True confidence isn't a loud proclamation or a show of superiority. It doesn't need to shout, boast, or dominate a room to be noticed. In fact, the most powerful form of confidence is quiet, calm, collected, and deeply rooted in a man's soul. This type of self-assurance radiates from within, requiring no external approval or applause. It's not about being the most charismatic speaker or the most physically imposing man in the room. It's about carrying an inner conviction that your value exists independently of praise, popularity, or recognition. Stoicism, one of the greatest philosophies of self-mastery, teaches that our worth is not defined by what others think of us, but by how we live according to our principles and how we respond to life's trials. A Stoic man doesn't look to the crowd for validation. He doesn't adjust his values based on what's trending. His confidence comes from his consistent discipline, his actions aligned with his values, and his ability to remain unmoved by chaos, criticism, or temporary failure. This kind of man, who operates from deep-rooted inner confidence, is a force to be reckoned with. He doesn't chase after compliments or demand attention. He doesn't crumble under pressure or alter his path because of someone else's opinion. When life throws storms his way, he doesn't run or panic. He stands firm, breathes deeply, and moves forward with purpose. This kind of resilience creates a powerful aura, an almost unexplainable magnetism that draws others in. And women especially, notice this. They sense when a man is solid. Not because he talks a big game, but because his energy is grounded, stable, and unwavering. He becomes a safe harbor in a world full of uncertain tides. His authenticity is refreshing in a sea of pretenders. His quiet power speaks louder than flashy gestures ever could. But ruthless self-confidence isn't something you fake. It must be built, layer by layer. It begins with knowing who you are, embracing your flaws, and still walking tall. It's cultivated by keeping promises to yourself, showing up when it's hard, and doing what's right even when no one is watching. When you live in integrity, when you master your emotions, and when you no longer depend on the world to make you feel worthy, that's when your presence becomes unforgettable. Confidence like this cannot be bought or taught overnight. It is earned through trials, through setbacks, through rising again and again when life tries to knock you down. And the men who possess it, the truly confident ones, are the ones who can walk into any room without saying a word and still command respect. In the end, ruthless self-confidence is less about dominating others and more about mastering yourself. It's about becoming the kind of man who trusts himself so completely that the world, and the women in it, can't help but take notice. Chapter 2. Purposeful Ambition. A man with a mission radiates a gravitational pull that words can't fully capture. It's not just what he says, it's the energy he walks with, the fire behind his eyes, the direction etched into his posture. Purposeful ambition is magnetic because it signals a man who knows where he's going and refuses to be stopped. He doesn't drift, he drives. He doesn't wait for permission, he creates his own path. And that focused energy is what separates boys chasing approval from men building empires. In Stoicism, this is the embodiment of living in accordance with nature and reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's purpose is to contribute to the common good through the expression of virtue. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Purposeful ambition is that port. It gives your actions meaning and your days direction. And when a woman sees a man moving like that, with intent, clarity, and a deep connection to his principles, her instincts respond. She senses leadership, protection, power. Not the power that dominates, but the power that builds. This is deeper than just having a career or setting some vague goals. Purposeful ambition is rooted in identity. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you're willing to bleed for. It's about showing up every day with a reason to rise. Even on the bad days. Especially on the bad days. Because when a man is driven by something larger than comfort, rejection doesn't shake him. Failure doesn't kill him. Distractions don't sway him. He's anchored, and women feel that anchoring instinctively. Let's be clear, it's not about being rich or already successful. Purpose doesn't mean you've arrived, it means you're moving. Women are far more drawn to a man in motion than a man in place. You could be broke, unknown, and still incredibly attractive if your direction is undeniable. If you're working, building, refining your craft, if your life has rhythm and motion, people take notice. And women? They feel it in their gut. Because you're not trying to impress. You're too busy creating. This kind of ambition has a different tone than the superficial grind culture most people glorify today. It's not just hustle, it's sacred. It's not about burning yourself out for some external validation. It's about aligning your effort with your inner compass. The Stoics never chased status for its own sake. They pursued mastery, wisdom, contribution. If you want to attract women on a soul level, don't show them your achievements, show them your dedication. That quiet, relentless pursuit of something meaningful. That's sexier than any bank account or follow count. Purposeful ambition also creates a psychological edge. It transforms how you handle adversity. A man with a mission doesn't collapse when things go wrong, he adjusts and keeps going. Women are incredibly tuned into how a man handles struggle. They want to know, will he panic or persist? Will he retreat or rise? Purpose makes the answer clear. And it's that sense of inner certainty, that emotional steadiness in the face of chaos, that makes a woman feel safe, even before you say a word. Another powerful effect of purposeful ambition is that it makes you less needy. When your life is filled with meaning, you don't chase relationships to complete you. You don't cling to attention. You don't perform for approval. You become the mountain, solid, self-contained, rising slowly toward something greater. And ironically, it's when you stop needing attention that you begin to receive it without even trying. Because you become the kind of man others want to follow, not the kind who begs to be noticed. When a woman meets a man like this, she can feel the difference immediately. He doesn't try to impress her with words, his actions speak for him. His lifestyle reflects discipline. His focus is sharp. His presence isn't scattered, because his time is sacred. And while he may desire connection, he doesn't need it to feel whole. That distinction alone makes him irresistible. Even better, this type of ambition isn't loud or aggressive, it's quiet and consistent. Like a river cutting through rock, a man with purpose doesn't stop. He keeps showing up. Day after day. Season after season. Not because he's trying to prove something, but because he can't not do it. The work is in his bones. The mission is in his blood. And women sense that level of obsession, especially when it's channeled toward something real. So what does this mean for you? If you want to embody this kind of Stoic energy, start by identifying what matters to you at the deepest level. What are you willing to suffer for? What kind of man do you want to become? Bend news. Take action. Make progress. Build something, even if it's slow, even if it's messy. The goal isn't perfection, it's direction. Show the world that your life has a spine. Women don't want a man who talks about his dreams while doing nothing. They want the man who is already on the path. The one who doesn't need to shout his purpose because it's written in how he walks, how he works, how he lives. That man? He's not only attractive, he's unforgettable. And remember, your ambition must be purposeful. Not random. Not impulsive. Purpose gives your ambition soul. It transforms desire into discipline, effort into excellence, movement into meaning. And that transformation? That's what drives women wild, not the result, but the depth behind the drive. Chapter 3: Emotional Mastery. In a world that thrives on reaction, drama, and overstimulation, the man who can remain composed in the storm is not just rare, he's powerful. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be indifferent. It's about developing a relationship with your inner world so profound that nothing external can shake your core. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They believed that while you can't control fate, fortune, or what others do, you can always control how you respond. And in that response lies your freedom and your strength. A man who has cultivated emotional mastery does not fly off the handle at minor inconveniences. He doesn't snap under pressure or implode in the face of rejection. His calm is not passive, it's intentional. It's forged from daily discipline and the relentless practice of self-awareness. This kind of man doesn't get caught up in his moods because he understands they are temporary. He watches his emotions like clouds passing across the sky, observing, learning, but never becoming them. Women instinctively sense this depth of control. It's not a performance, it's felt. When a man can navigate conflict without losing his head, when he listens instead of reacts, when he pauses instead of panics, it creates an environment of safety. And for a woman, emotional safety is not just attractive, it's essential. It's the invisible current that allows her to trust, to soften, to connect. She knows that with a man like this, she's not stepping into chaos. She's stepping into structure, calm, and clarity. Now understand, emotional mastery doesn't mean emotional numbness. The Stoic man feels deeply, but he feels without drowning. He can express grief without becoming despairing. He can feel anger without becoming aggressive. He channels his energy instead of leaking it. He sees emotions as signals, not commands. This is the hallmark of maturity, and it's intoxicating to women who are tired of men who spiral, sulk, or shut down. This kind of self-regulation takes practice. It's not inherited, it's built. The Stoics trained for it daily, through reflection, meditation, journaling, and the relentless examination of their thoughts. The modern Stoic does the same. He reflects before he speaks. He detaches from the heat of the moment. He doesn't let temporary emotion sabotage permanent character. This creates a presence that commands respect without needing to demand it. You must realize how rare this is in today's world. Most people are emotional slaves, puppets yanked around by whatever mood happens to grab them that day. The man who isn't reactive becomes a rock. And people, especially women, are drawn to that rock when the waters of life get rough. They want someone who won't crack under pressure, who won't shift their mood every time the wind blows. Emotional consistency is masculine energy in its highest form. And here's the truth that no one tells you, and emotional control is seductive. Not in the flashy, manipulative way, but in the deeply magnetic way that draws someone in and makes them feel secure in your presence. The woman who once braced for mood swings, passive aggression, or emotional withdrawal finally breathes easy when she's around you. Not because you're dull, but because you're steady. This steadiness builds trust. and trust builds intimacy. Women can't open up, relax, or connect when they're walking on eggshells. But when they feel the emotional maturity in you, when they see that you don't break, don't lash out, and don't make them responsible for your moods, they begin to let go. And in letting go, they open. That's where real attraction begins, in the space created by your stillness. And here's the Stoic kicker: when you master your emotions, the world loses its grip on you. Rejection no longer feels like failure. Criticism no longer feels like a wound. Challenges no longer feel like threats. You become immune to chaos because your center is intact. This doesn't just make you more attractive, it makes you free. Women want to be around a man who doesn't need fixing. A man who can hold space for her emotions without being swallowed by them. A man who can walk into a crisis and bring order. That man isn't chasing approval, isn't addicted to validation, and doesn't crumble when things get hard. That man is rare and unforgettable. To be that man, you must practice presence. Train yourself to pause before reacting. Question your impulses. Observe your anger. Understand your sadness. Give space between stimulus and response. Build rituals that ground you. Read. Reflect. Write. Meditate. Because emotional mastery isn't just something you use when life gets hard, it's something you live so that when life does get hard, you're already prepared. And in the end, this kind of control creates a powerful paradox. The more command you have over your emotions, the more deeply you can feel them, because you're no longer afraid of being consumed. You can open your heart without losing your mind. That's real strength. That's real presence. That's the kind of masculine energy that doesn't just attract women, it transforms them. Chapter 4: Magnetic Charisma. Charisma isn't about flash. It isn't about being the center of attention or cracking jokes just to fill silence. True magnetic charisma is something quieter, deeper, and infinitely more powerful. It's the kind of energy that doesn't scream, it resonates. And it's no accident. For Stoic men, this quality is born from inner alignment, emotional intelligence, and a calm confidence that draws others in without ever trying too hard. The man with magnetic charisma walks into a room and immediately changes the atmosphere, not by commanding it, but by grounding it. He doesn't need to speak loudly or take up physical space to be noticed. His stillness, his eye contact, his intentional presence, those are the traits that speak for him. Women feel it before they even understand it. It's an energy that says, I'm fully here. I'm not performing. I'm not chasing. I see you. And in a world filled with distractions, that kind of presence is rare and irresistible. Stoic charisma is different from the showy charm of the insecure man. It doesn't rely on tricks, gimmicks, or overly polished social skills. It's based in authenticity. The Stoic man has nothing to prove. His sense of worth doesn't hinge on impressing others, so ironically, he often impresses the most. He's grounded. He listens. He takes his time when he speaks. He pays attention not just to words, but to body language, tone, and energy. And that attentiveness makes people feel deeply understood. Women are especially attuned to this type of charisma because it offers emotional safety. A man who listens with genuine curiosity, who doesn't rush to talk about himself, who doesn't get flustered or reactive, that man projects security. And security is seductive. Not the kind of security that smothers or controls, but the kind that says, I am steady and I will not waver just because life gets loud. Charisma rooted in Stoicism also has a moral weight to it. These men don't manipulate people for validation. They don't charm for the sake of approval. Their presence is magnetic precisely because it's honest. They're not trying to be liked, they're simply living in truth. They know who they are. They know what they value. And that self-possession creates a gravitational pull. People instinctively lean toward them because their energy feels clean, unforced, pure. One of the most attractive things about a man with magnetic charisma is his ability to make others feel seen and significant. Not through flattery or performance, but through full engagement. When he talks to a woman, he isn't distracted. He isn't scanning the room or rehearsing his next line. He's fully there. That kind of attention is powerful because it's rare. And in that moment, the other person feels like the most important person in the world. That's the magic. That's the pull. This form of charisma also knows when not to speak. The Stoic man understands the value of silence. He's not uncomfortable with pauses. He doesn't feel the need to fill every second with noise. And that space, those moments of calm between words, are often more powerful than speech. Because in silence, energy speaks. And women, especially those who've grown tired of empty words, sense that energy loud and clear. Magnetic charisma is also about storytelling, not grand tales for applause, but the ability to communicate emotion and meaning through words. When a Stoic man shares, he shares from experience. He doesn't embellish to impress. He speaks with intention. His stories reveal who he is, what he's lived, what he's learned, what he values. And that kind of communication creates connection that lingers long after the conversation ends. What makes this charisma sustainable is that it isn't tied to performance or external energy. It doesn't require a crowd. It doesn't burn out with time. It's rooted in inner stillness. And because of that, it gets stronger over time. It's the quiet fire that doesn't flicker in the wind. That's the kind of fire that women gravitate toward, not the blazing inferno that dies in a flash, but the steady heat that warms without ever asking for attention. This is why the Stoics, despite their reserved nature, were deeply influential. Their charisma wasn't based on flash, it was based on truth. And in our world, where masks and facades are everywhere, truth has become magnetic. When a man lives without pretense, when he engages with depth, when he carries himself with intention and emotional clarity, he stands out. Not by force, but by resonance. Charisma, then, isn't something you're trying to have. It's something that emerges when you strip away the noise. When you stop chasing attention and start cultivating presence. When you stop talking just to be heard and start listening just to understand. It's not a skill, it's a byproduct of character. And when a man embraces Stoic principles, self-awareness, calmness, purpose, and emotional regulation, that charisma becomes inevitable. The rarest kind of man is the one who makes others feel safe, valued, and energized simply by being himself. Not because he's trying to be someone, but because he's already become someone. That is the essence of magnetic charisma. And it's what separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. Chapter 5: Unwavering Integrity. Integrity is not a part-time virtue. It's not something a man wears like a jacket, something he puts on in public and discards in private. True integrity is the spine of character. It's the consistency between what a man believes, what he says, and what he does. The Stoics held this alignment above all else. To them, a man who lived without virtue was not a man at all, just a shell driven by impulse, fear, and vanity. Unwavering integrity means you live by principles, not convenience. It means your values don't shift based on who's watching or what's at stake. You don't compromise your character to gain approval, pleasure, or short-term advantage. You don't sell your soul just to avoid discomfort. And you certainly don't become someone else just to be liked. The Stoic man knows the only approval that matters is the one given by his own conscience. Everything else is noise. Women sense this like a sixth sense. They may not articulate it outright, but they instinctively recognize a man who is grounded in something deeper than impulse. A man of integrity doesn't need to posture or prove anything. He just is. He doesn't tell people he's honest, he demonstrates it through his daily actions. He doesn't need to promise loyalty, he embodies it. And that presence, that reliability, creates emotional safety. It's what makes women trust deeply and respect fully. The man of integrity doesn't play games. He says what he means and does what he says. If he makes a mistake, he owns it. If he gives his word, he honors it. If he feels pressure to bend, to hide, to manipulate, he resists. Because he knows that short-term ease bought at the cost of self-respect is a trap. It always backfires. And worst of all, it chips away at your inner foundation until nothing stable is left. Stoicism demands a higher standard. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple. Direct. Ruthless in its clarity. That is the code of the man who is truly free. Because once your behavior aligns with your beliefs, you stop living in fear. You stop wondering, what if they find out? Because there's nothing to hide. That kind of clarity gives you power. Quiet power. And women can feel it. In relationships, integrity matters more than flash or charm. A man who flirts with everyone, lies easily, or hides his intentions may get attention, but he doesn't earn devotion. That's reserved for the man who is solid. Predictable in the best way. Not boring, but dependable. A rock. Someone she knows won't vanish when things get hard or betray her trust when temptation knocks. Because his actions are governed by internal principles, not external temptation. And this doesn't mean he's rigid or inflexible. True integrity isn't about being stubborn. It's about being aligned. If he grows and learns something new that changes his perspective, he adapts, but he does so transparently and authentically. He doesn't pretend. He doesn't play both sides. He walks a straight line even when it costs him comfort or popularity. The Stoics believe that your character is your fate. If your actions are guided by virtue, by courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance, then your life will reflect that strength. A man of integrity isn't tossed around by gossip, fear, or the shifting values of the crowd. He stands firm. And that firmness radiates in everything he does. He becomes a man others rely on. A man women admire. A man his future children would look up to. Not because he's perfect, but because he's real. Integrity is magnetic because it signals emotional maturity. It tells the world, I'm not here to impress, I'm here to live truthfully. And when a man lives that way, he commands attention without asking for it. He doesn't need a stage or a spotlight. His presence speaks louder than his words ever could. Even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, a man of integrity chooses the right path. That's the Stoic way. That's the way of the rare 1%, the men who become legends in the lives of those around them, not because they chased approval, but because they never abandoned themselves. So if you want to be that man, stop worrying about how others see you. Start paying attention to how you see you. Start treating your word as sacred. Start making decisions you'd be proud to explain to your younger self. And when you do, women will notice. Not because you're performing, but because you've become someone they can truly trust. Chapter 6: Compassionate Leadership. Leadership isn't about exerting control over others, it's about influence without force, guidance without ego, and service without self-interest. True leadership, especially through the lens of Stoic philosophy, is rooted in character, not authority. It's about who you are when no one is watching. And above all, it's about how you treat those who can do nothing for you. A confident, Stoic man understands that leading is not about dominating, it's about elevating. The Stoics were never loud rulers. They believed that leadership starts with the self, mastering one's emotions, impulses, and judgments. A man cannot lead others until he leads himself. And when he does, his leadership doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like gravity, something others are drawn to naturally. He doesn't need to bark orders or assert superiority to get respect. People trust him because his presence radiates clarity, discipline, and care. Compassionate leadership is about emotional intelligence. It's the ability to recognize the needs and struggles of others without rushing to control or fix them. It's the wisdom to know when to step in and when to step back. When a man leads with compassion, he communicates, listens, and responds not from fear or insecurity, but from a calm, stable core. This is what makes him magnetic. Women sense this difference immediately. They're not just drawn to his ability to take charge, they're drawn to how he does it. There's a quiet strength in a man who doesn't need to dominate to feel powerful. He holds space for others without feeling threatened. He supports without becoming controlling. He encourages others to grow, even if that growth doesn't center around him. That kind of emotional security, paired with a clear sense of direction, is intoxicating. Because it signals maturity. It signals leadership that doesn't wound, it heals. And in today's world, that is rare. Women are especially drawn to this quality because it speaks to both strength and softness. It's a balance most men never learn. But the Stoic man embraces it. He knows that leadership without compassion turns into tyranny. And compassion without strength becomes passivity. The sweet spot is found in knowing when to be firm and when to be flexible. When to step forward and when to allow others to shine. This doesn't just apply to professional or public roles. It applies to relationships. The man who can lead a relationship with care, listen without defensiveness, and create a shared vision for the future, he becomes irreplaceable. He doesn't need to manipulate, test, or dominate to feel in control. He leads through example, through action, and through presence. Even Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire in the world, wrote daily about compassion and restraint. He constantly reminded himself that true greatness comes from how you treat people, not just those above you, but those below you. That's real Stoic leadership, the ability to carry immense power with even greater responsibility. A compassionate leader also knows that emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals. He listens to others with patience and without jumping to conclusions. He can sit with someone else's pain without needing to fix it right away. He holds that space, and that's what makes him feel safe. Not just physically, but emotionally. That kind of safety is rare, and women intuitively recognize it. They don't just like it. They crave it. This man knows how to handle stress without lashing out. He knows how to take accountability, not shift blame. He owns his mistakes and makes amends when needed. And when others succeed, he doesn't feel threatened, he celebrates it. Because he's not playing a zero-sum game. His success doesn't need to come at someone else's expense. And make no mistake, this kind of leadership isn't passive or soft. It's sharp, deliberate, and incredibly powerful. Because it allows a man to influence deeply without intimidation. His strength is subtle but undeniable. He doesn't seek control, he earns respect. And that respect multiplies, not just among peers, but with women who see in him the rare ability to lead with both backbone and heart. Women are wired to seek safety and vision. They're not just looking for someone who can protect them, they're drawn to someone who can lead them somewhere meaningful, someone who stands tall when life throws storms but still keeps his heart open. That's the Stoic ideal. That's compassionate leadership. And it's not just attractive, it's transformative. Chapter 7: Authentic Humility. True humility isn't about diminishing oneself, but about having an accurate, grounded perception of one's strengths and weaknesses. It's not self-deprecation. It's self-honesty. Stoicism teaches the value of radical self-awareness, the ability to step outside your ego and look at yourself clearly, without illusion. A man with authentic humility doesn't need to wear false modesty or act inferior. He's aware of what he brings to the table, but he's also deeply aware that he's still learning, still evolving, and still fallible like everyone else. This kind of humility isn't flashy. It's not performative. It doesn't come with a need to advertise how humble you are. It shows itself in how a man listens more than he talks, how he gives credit instead of taking it, how he treats people with equal respect, whether they can benefit him or not. Women can sense this energy immediately. It's calm, composed, and deeply human. They're drawn to men who are confident in who they are, yet don't need to dominate every room or outshine everyone around them. The humble man doesn't fear being wrong. He welcomes correction because he's more devoted to truth than to being right. He doesn't walk into a room trying to prove he's the smartest or most powerful. He walks in with curiosity, with openness. And ironically, that very quality, his grounded humility, makes him magnetic. Because in a world full of loud egos and empty bragging, a man who knows his value but doesn't have to flaunt it is rare. And rare is always attractive. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire, wrote constantly about humility. He reminded himself that emperors, generals, and slaves all return to the same earth. That power means nothing without virtue, and that no man is above learning. When you carry that mindset into your own life, you stop trying to be the man in every room. You simply are the man because your presence, not your pride, does the talking. A man with authentic humility never stops improving because he never assumes he's arrived. His relationships thrive because he listens, learns, and admits when he's wrong. He's the kind of man a woman feels safe with, not just physically, but emotionally and intellectually. He can lead without controlling, teach without condescending, and love without ego. There's strength in this kind of humility. It takes real confidence to admit you don't know everything, to admit you made a mistake, to apologize sincerely. But every time you choose humility over ego, you build something deeper: trust, respect, admiration, and most importantly, self-mastery. Embracing this trait, along with the other Stoic principles we've explored, self-confidence, purpose, emotional control, charisma, integrity, compassionate leadership, elevates a man beyond the ordinary. He doesn't have to force attraction. He becomes naturally compelling. His presence says it all. Because the truth is, the most desirable men are not those trying to prove they're valuable, but those who know they are and live accordingly. And that includes knowing they still have room to grow. It's not about impressing others. It's about expressing the best version of yourself, authentically, consistently, and with humility. The man who walks the Stoic path doesn't need applause. He's not chasing approval. He's living by principle. And that is the rarest, most irresistible kind of man. So cultivate that humility. Sharpen it. Let it guide you. Because when you do, not only do you become more attractive to others, you become unshakably aligned with yourself. A man who lives by Stoic principles doesn't chase attention. He commands it through who he becomes. Women don't fall for tricks or cheap performances. They're drawn to depth, purpose, and presence. And the truth is, only about 1% of men ever cultivate these 7 traits. But you're not here by accident. If you made it this far, you already have the hunger to become that rare man. So don't just absorb this, live it. Apply it. Master it. Drop a comment below if any of these traits spoke to you, or if you've seen the difference they make in your own life. Like, subscribe, and share this with a brother who needs to hear it. And remember, true power isn't loud, it's disciplined, focused, and felt. Now go. Be the man 99% will never become.